theories or hypothesis regarding the origin of life. No hypothesis was fact based. This hypothesis was based on the different assumption that how Earth or how the solar system has been originated, and in today classes from the its birth, from the day of its birth, how the life and how the different process or different structures in the earth was formed and evolved gradually, we will discuss in our today class. Okay. Let us have a slide. In slide you will see a big fireball. You can see a big fireball. It was the starting stage of the earth. At the initial stage of the earth, it was assumed that it was very hot. No life and no others structures like mountains, rivers, trees were not possible at that time, and it gradually slows down or cools down. It gradually cools down like this in the figure. It gradually cools down. Different structures will start to form along with the time interval. Then it is cools down like this. Then the life was start, or then the water, life supporting medium like water, air start to formed in the surfaces of surfaces of the land. Unicellular organisms like bacterium start to develop as the first organism in the earth. Then it is the present age of earth or present time of earth. You can see in the figure that is the blue part consists of the water, that blue part is the water, and the green part consists of the land structures or the land, and we know that one third of the part is land, whereas the 2/3 part of the earth is water. So, it is also said that water is first originated in the earth, evolved in the earth. So, the life start from the water, and the first animal or first organism in the earth was aquatic animal, because all the life supporting medium was possible in the earth, in the water at that time. So, the life is possible in the earth. That life was not originated or possible along with the evolution or along with the origination of the earth, because evolution means a gradual change. Evolution means the gradual change in different practice, like at the, as I already told you that at the initial stage the earth was a big fireball and it cools down slowly. Then the life supporting medium start to formed in the earth. Then life was originated, and after the life formation the different organisms start to dominate in the earth during the different periods or different time intervals. So, all the time intervals that covers the earth's history, or scale that covers the earth history from its origin to the present is called geological time scale. That means, from the origin of the earth to the present date, from the origin of the earth to the present date, all the phenomenon that acts or that occur in the earth is categorized or is divided into different time intervals. That time interval is known as geological time scale. As we all discussed that the estimated age of the earth is about 4.6, in some book you can find 4.5 billion years also too, 4.6 billion years, and the time period from its origin to the present is divided into the hierarchical order of time intervals. They are eons, eras, period and epoch, which is given by the time interval on this basis, that is the hierarchical order is given by the International Union of Geological Sciences, that is IUGS, International Union of Geological Sciences. You can see in the time period that table or small table is presented over there. That table indicates that the different time intervals and the different time periods, that is Phanerozoic eon, Proterozoic eon and the Archean eon. That is Archean eon is the first eon, then Proterozoic, then after Phanerozoic eon. The Phaenozoic eon is the present eon in which the phanerogamic plants and the human beings by their intelligence or by their brain or by their sense dominate the earth at the present time. So, to the next, as I already mentioned you, that is a Phaenozoic eon starts from 570 million years ago and is still continuing at the present. At this eon, vertebrates and the phanerogams were developed. Vertebrates mean the animals with backbone. Animals with backbone, there are the different classes of vertebrates. There are 5 classes of the vertebrates. That 5 classes of the vertebrates are developed or were developed in this eon. And among these 5 types of vertebrates, that is mammals, in which class the human beings lies, that mammals dominate the earth's surface. All the facts or all the phenomenon that occurs in the earth's surface in the present days is controlled by the human beings by their intelligence and by their sense. And the phanerogamic plant, we can see the more number of the phanerogamic plants than the than the cryptogamic plant. That means phanerogamic plant means flowering plant. The present age is dominated by the flowering plants rather than the non-flowering plants. The non-flowering plants were not developed much in this eon. We can see the phanerogamic plants all over the surface of the earth. This eon are further divided into different eras, period and epochs. And the first era of this means present era. The present era of this eon is Cenozoic era, that is present to 65 million years ago. Present to 65 million years ago. This era started from the 65 million years ago and is still continuing and is divided into 2 periods. They are quaternary period and tertiary period. In yesterday class also we discussed about this. Quaternary period are further divided into the 2 epochs. They are Holocene, Paleocene. Similarly, the tertiary period that lasted until 2 million years ago is further divided into 5 epochs. The epochs are Paleocene, Eocene, Miocene, Oligocene, and another one is Paleocene. The wide variety of plants and animals that we know today came into the existence during the Cenozoic era. As we discussed about it, in the Cenozoic era, the wide variety like phanerogamic plants which are more developed than the non-phanerogamic or cryptogamic plants, non-flowering plants, and the animals, that is mammals that is dominating the earth's surface, reptiles that is dominating the earth's surface are developed in this era. So, this era is also known as the era of human beings. This era is also known as the era of human beings. In this era, all the phenomena and all the activities that occur in the earth's surface is directly or indirectly controlled by the human beings. So, this era is also known as the era of human. And another one is the middle age life or middle life, that is Mesozoic era, that start from 215 million years ago and ended about 65 million years ago. That is start from 250 million years ago and ended about 65 million years ago. This era is further divided into Cretaceous, Jurassic and Triassic period. Again, it is very important to us, Cretaceous, Jurassic and Triassic period. In this period, the huge reptiles like dinosaurs evolved, developed and got extinct. Again, in this era, in the Mesozoic era, this era, the huge reptiles, so this era is also known as the era of reptiles. The huge era, in this era, the huge reptiles like dinosaurs which got evolved at the same time, dominate the earth's surface at the same time and extinct at the same time. That means, in the Mesozoic era. And in this era, in case of plant, large carboniferous forest, today's petroleum product and today's coals or fossil fuels are the result of the carboniferous forest that occurred during the Mesozoic era. So, this era is known as the era of reptiles. One thing remain in your mind that dinosaurs, Dinosaurs was the most large animal or most the used animals or reptiles that was evolved during this era. To the next, and the plant like cycad and the coniferous forest or coniferous plants formed before the flowering plants, and the modern trees appeared during this era, and similarly birds and bats were originated. That means apes and mammals were start to originate at that time. That coniferous forest and the cycads were the result or was the cause for the today's fossil fuel. They got fossilized. They got fossilized due to the different activities that occurred in the earth or different phenomena that occurred in the earth at that time, and that get sedimented over the earth surface over a long period of time, and after that period of time it gets changed into the fossil fuel. We will discuss later on it. Then another life was or era was Paleozoic era. It was the past life, beginning life, and it started from 570 million years ago and ended about 250 million years ago. This era is further divided into 7 periods. They are Permian, Pennsylvanian, Mississippian, Devonian, Silurian, Ordovician and Cambrian. In this era, we will discuss in the graphical methods about this period, in which period what types of organisms were developed, what was the starting plant or starting animals in this period in later on. Then in this period, that is invertebrates, in this period the invertebrates, vertebrates, fast growing animals, brosses and the giant fern plants. Giant fern plants were developed. Giant fern plants were developed. That results or that start to evolve in the another time period. That time period was the Mesozoic time period or Mesozoic era. That Mesozoic era, in that Mesozoic era, the plant animals or the in that Mesozoic era, that Carboniferous forest, dominate the earth's surface. So, as I already told that invertebrates, fast growing grasses and giant fern trees, that is coal plant, were developed or were found in this era, and Mississippian and Pennsylvanian periods were jointly called Carboniferous forest. Again, the Mississippian and Pennsylvanian periods are jointly called Carboniferous forest. That Carboniferous forest is the result or outcome of the coal. And the last one is Proterozoic eon. In this era, that start from 570 million years ago. That start from 570 million years ago to about 2500 million years ago. That start from 570 million years ago to about 2500 million years ago. And in this period, invertebrates and cryptogamic plants were developed or start to develop. In Proterozoic eon, invertebrates and cryptogamic plants were start to developed or evolved. And then see, another one is Archean period. It was the very initial stage of the earth. That extended from 25 million years ago to the year to the 3800 million years ago. In this eon, life was originated on the earth, and about 3800 million years ago, bacteria was developed. That is first organism that developed in the earth's surface. The water or life supporting medium was formed at that time, and the first unicellular organism, that is bacteria, were developed. First unicellular organism, that is bacteria, was developed at that time or evolved at that time, and 320 million years ago, algae, that is first plant was algae, and the first animal was bacteria, were evolved in this eon. So, in the figure you can see, how the different phenomena was developed along with the development of the different organisms different landforms in the earth. Okay. In the figure you can see that the first starting age was 4.6 billion years ago. At that time you can see the red spiral. That red spiral means the earth was very hot. Then after, before the 4 billion years ago, you can see the oldest rock dated on the earth. Oldest rock dated on the earth. Then you can see the evolution of the cells with the nucleus about 2 billion years ago. Means 2 billion years ago means 2500 or 200 million years ago. Evolution of the cell with the nucleus. Then start the Silurian period. You can see the different life structure forming. Then Devonian period, Mississippian period, Pennsylvanian period, Permian period. You can see the fossils of the different like Archaeopteryx organisms, Permian period. Then the Triassic period, you can see the dinosaurs evolving. You can see the domination of the dinosaurs in the Jurassic period. Then come Cretaceous period, where the dinosaurs start to got extinct. You can see in the tertiary period of Cenozoic era, huge animals like the rhinoceros, elephant start to evolve, and then the last was the present Cenozoic era. The human beings start to dominate the earth's surface. Along with the human beings, the green valleys, mountains start to develop at the earth's surface. Okay, this will be the more clear. This will be more clear. This will make you more clear. Here the era. That is Cenozoic era, Mesozoic era, Paleozoic era and Precambrian era, you can see that. And in the different time period, which animal was dominating the earth's surface, you can see in the left corner of the figure and the right corner of the figure, respectively the eras and the dominant and in the dominant animal, and in the middle of the table you can see the period, that is quaternary period and tertiary period. The present age, you can see the mammals dominating the earth surface, like huge mammals like elephant, rhinoceros, and the one not least, that is human beings also dominate the earth surface. Then start the Mesozoic eras. Then after the Mesozoic era, that is Cretaceous, Jurassic and Triassic. In this era, as we already mentioned, that dinosaurs start to evolve, dominate and extinct from the earth's surface. Then in Paleozoic era, you can see the Permian, Pennsylvanian, Devonian, Silurian, Ordovician and Cambrian. That is different animals like in Cambrian trilobites, in Ordovician that is neutralides, that Silurian you can see sea scorpion, the Devonian the huge fishes start to develop, or fishes or aquatic animals start to, large aquatic animals start to develop. Then the Pennsylvanian and Mississippian period, amphibians started to develop. In Permian period, that is reptiles start to develop, and after the Permian, that is Mesozoic era will come, and in the Mesozoic era, the huge reptiles like dinosaurs dominate the earth's surface. You can see in the figure more clearly. Now it is a geological time scales along same figure which mention the different sources. You can see Cenozoic, Mesozoic, Paleozoic and that was Proterozoic. That is different life possible supporting mediums were developed along with the time. You can see evolution of human beings, mammals diversify, that means different animals got developed and get separated. That one things like that we can find the elephant in the Nepal and in the Africa too, but they have the common ancestor. They got separated during the evolution of time or evolution of life. Again you can find the elephant in the Nepal and Africa too. The elephant from Nepal and the Africa have common ancestor and they got separated during the life process. Then after Cretaceous, you can see extinction of dinosaurs, first primates, first flowering plants were developed at the time. In Jurassic Jurassic period, there is the first bird developed in the earth. Dinosaurs diversify, that means dinosaurs start to dominate. And in the Jurassic, first mammals were developed, first dinosaurs were developed at that time. And in Permian, that is major extinction like reptiles, or sorry, you can say that reptiles start to developed, or reptiles diversified, and the first reptiles was developed in the time of Pennsylvanian. First reptiles were developed at the time of Pennsylvanian. You can see in the figure, you will be very clear. Skills trees like cycad was developed at that time. Seed fawns, that is Carboniferous forests, were developed at that time. Different first amphibians were developed in Devonian period. Silurian, similarly vascular land plant, that means plant that containing xylem and vascular plant means that and plant that containing xylem and phloem. Another was Ordovician, that is sudden diversification of the Metazoans family, you can see that. And then another was Cambrian, first fishes, first chordates means backbone animals, first chordates and first fishes were developed at that time. Okay, in the next we can see that, as I already described, or the description of the evolution of life states that it is not a single day procedure or a single day process. The life was originated in the human beings throughout the process, or from the starting or from the evolution time of the earth, the life was not possible. Gradually and slowly earth started to cools down, and the life supporting medium were initiated, or life supporting medium were formed in the earth, and then the life was possible in the earth. So the evolutionary history of the life on the earth traces the process by which living and the fossils organism evolved from the earliest emergence of the life to the present. That is, the estimated earth is about 4.5 billion years ago, and the evidence suggests that the life was originated only after the 3700 million years ago. That means after such interval of time, long interval of time, only the life supporting medium was developed. The similarities among all non-present day species indicate that, remind this point, the similarities among all non-present day species indicate that they have diverged throughout the process of evolution from a common ancestor, as I already give you the example of elephant. We can find the elephant in Nepal and Africa too. They are physically different. Nowadays they are physically different due to the different climatic factors, different their other habits. They got gradually evolved, but both animals, that is elephant found in Nepal and Africa, have common ancestors. Approximately, see this point, very interesting. Approximately 1 trillion species currently live in the earth, of which only 1.75 to 1.8 millions have been named and 1.6 have been documented. That means more number of animals need to be documented. Means in present day, new animals are being found. New animals are being found day to day, and they got evolved day to day. And these currently living species represent less than 1% of all species that have ever lived in the earth. So, what was the oldest plant? The oldest plant was the algae, which was originated about 3200 million years ago, and invertebrate animals were originated about 1200 million years ago. The first organism was bacterium, that is a singular, in plural you can say bacteria. The first organism was bacterium that was originated before 3800 million years ago. And in the beginning of the Paleozoic era, marine shelled invertebrates were abundant, and vertebrates were formed in the ocean and gradually seen on the land. Like the animals like fish, amphibians and the reptiles were evolved in this era. See, in the Paleozoic era, fish, amphibians and reptiles were evolved. So, this era is also known as the era of era of amphibians. Paleozoic era is also known as era of amphibians, as the amphibians were dominating in the era. Now, you can see the different plants, that is cycas plant, at that cycad plant that was developed at that time. You can see, and you can see the animals like it is the fossils of dinosaurs. The species of dinosaurs was Platysaurus, which was developed during the Mesozoic era, The estimated, or the figure was in the left corner, sorry, in the right corner. You can see in the right top of the right corner, you can see the figure of the animals on the basis of the fossils found, and this was the fossils. And after learning, or after the scientific discover of the fossils, it gives the actual structures, actual habitat, actual life of that animals, and the process was also the rock dating or carbon dating. You can say that is the to find the estimated age of fossils, or estimated age of animals by the fossils. You can see the fawn plants. This is the fawn plants which was originated. It was the fawn plant which was originated at that time, and still it is found in the earth's surface. At the time of the Mesozoic era, this type of fawn plant are used. This type of fawn plants are used, and this type of fawn plant dominated the earth's surface at that time period. Okay, students, from tomorrow classes, we will discuss more about how fossils were formed, how fossil fuels are developed under the earth crust, and the others different facts about or regarding the history of earth. Till then, have a nice time, stay safe, thank you.